Good afternoon. It is now 1 o'clock on the 17th of February 2026, and I would like to welcome all committee members and the Minister of Finance and the team from Provincial Treasury and from the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board to this meeting of the Standing Committee on Finance. So as I've indicated, welcome, and I think to get proceedings underway, we will first of all allow the members of the committee just to introduce themselves and for the record to this meeting. I would also like to welcome Ms. Zaida Adams, our procedural officer, who is with us at this meeting. So over to you. Once we've done the members, then we will move across to you, Minister, and your team, as well as the team from the Gambling and Racing Board.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Minister and your team. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Noko Masipa. I'm a member of this standing committee. Thank you, Chair.
Good afternoon, Chair. Khalil Brankes, Members Committee.
Good afternoon, Chair and Minister and everyone. I'm French Mbombo.
Hello, Chairperson. It's Dave Bryant, member of the committee.
Greetings, Chair. Thank you, Member Bryant. Greetings, Chair. My name is Nomin Gondlo, a member of this committee.
Yes, thanks both of you. So that's members Bryant and Nkondlo. I also have an apology from member Constable. So I think without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Minister. Welcome, Minister, to this first meeting of the Finance Committee for 2026.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Our presentation from the Provincial Treasury side will be led by Ms. Ishmael and our team. I do apologize if some Provincial Treasury people join and leave as we go. We are in the middle of the budget process, but we have a very competent team online in order to do the presentation on the third quarter performance. And I just need to submit the apology for Head of Treasury, who's currently dealing with our budget process as well. And then we also have the board with us in order to deal with the respective quarterly performance matters. Chair, if it's in order with you, we'll then jump straight into the presentation. I think it's very straightforward.
Yes, I think the agenda for today is certainly we'll deal with Provincial Treasury, first of all, on your third quarter performance report. And then once we've done that, then we can move straight into Gambling and Racing Board, and then the members can address questions thereafter. And, I think we should probably not occupy you for too long today. So I think over to you, to the team at Provincial Treasury. Thanks.
Thank you. So Nadia, and I know Valencia and Isra, they're all online to assist us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon to the Chairperson and the members of the committee, as well as to my colleagues. Thank you to the committee for the opportunity to present Provincial Treasury's quarter performance report for the third quarter of the year. The presentation that we have shared with you provides a nice consolidated view of our performance for the third quarter, and in it we highlight our areas of delivery. And I ask to see Member Nkondlo's hand.
Sorry, Chair, I'm not sure whether it is me. I can't hear the speaker. I'm speaking very soft, so I'm just struggling. I'm not sure whether it's my audio on my side.
It might be your audio on your side. I'm able to hear the speaker pretty well. So I think if you just check that, Otherwise, we'll, if you just put something in the chat box, then I'm sure IT will help you. I see Sipa's hand.
Chair, apologies. I'm also experiencing the same. The speaker is very soft. Apologies for that.
How about
Okay.
this? Is this better?
That
Is
sounds
that
better.
slightly
Yeah,
better?
good.
Much better, much better.
Okay, great. Thanks, then I'll just speak. I'll speak up. So as I was saying, we will also in this presentation be very transparent in the areas where there are corrective measures to be implemented. I will take you through the high-level trends through program performance, and then we will spend some time on focusing on the few indicators where variances have occurred. Before we kick off, this slide just sets out the purpose of the QPR. The intention for us today, as I mentioned, is just for us to summarize the progress. We have sent you the detailed quarterly performance reporting model. So the summary today will be against the annual performance plan targets, focusing on what was planned and comparing that to what was achieved during the third quarter. We will highlight the deviations, like I mentioned, and then explain the reasons for the deviations, and then also unpack the mitigation actions. As always, it goes without saying that our performance reporting aligns very strictly with the PFMA, as well as with the National Treasury regulations. So in ensuring that alignment, our reporting remains transparent, consistent, and it is also based on evidence. On this slide here, we are reflecting the overall trend across the first 3 quarters. The key message that I want to bring to the surface here is that the performance in the department has remained consistently strong across all 3 quarters. So quarter 3, you'll see, ended with an overall achievement rate of 92%, which is only slightly lower than the 97% achieved in quarter 2. You will also notice that the non-achieved targets remained very low at 3%. So behind the 92%, we have delivered some high volume outputs, such as 3 consolidated municipal IOM submissions to the NT. We've produced 21 IRM progress assessments, and then also the publication of the quarterly municipal budget statement. But this is to name but a few. The rest of the detail is contained in the QPR model that we have shared with you. On the next slide, we are breaking it down per program. We see that programs 1 and 2 have achieved 100% of the targets for the quarter. Program 3 achieved 89%, with 1 partially achieved target, and in program 4 achieved 75%, with 1 partially achieved and then 1 not achieved target. Across all the programs, we have achieved 36 out of the 39 performance indicators. Again, this reflects a very strong profile of performance. The variances sit within 3 and 4, but I will unpack that in detail shortly. On the next slide, we then have the sub-program level, where most of the areas continue to perform well. The majority of our sub-programs reflecting levels above 100%. The few exceptions relate to the supply chain management under program 3, and in the sub-program corporate governance under program 4, and I will unpack that as promised. So we'll dive straight into the next slide. So here we have the partially achieved indicator under supply chain management. The team here achieved 5 out of the 10 planned municipal support interventions, and this translates to 50% achievement. So this shortfall is linked to competing priorities that the unit had to contend with, particularly with engagements with the Auditor General, as well as the hosting of some major supply chain management capacity building events that took place in the Central Peru district. The program is also unfortunately managing some capacity constraints within the team. and this is also being dealt with. So the way in which they are mitigating these concerns is by reassessing their delivery model and exploring a hybrid approach to improve reach and efficiencies going forward. They are also following a very rigid recruitment process to make sure that they have the necessary staff in place. The next slide shows the indicator that was not achieved for the quarter, and this is for program 4. So the current situation is that the publication and the tabling of the ACFS within 1 month after receipt of the audit report, this has proved to be challenging. The issue is that there's a lot of dependence on the speaker and as well as the finalization of the audit process. And as these are all out of the Provincial Treasury's control, hence the non-achievement risk that is recurring. So what the program has proposed to do is to reword the indicator going forward in the new financial year to read as follows: to the submission of the draft ACFS to the AG within the legislated timeframe. So in this way, we are still very much aligned to the PFMA and the NTR accountability intent, while we managed to change the focus towards it being more controllable and within our reach. The next slide, that is the last slide. This then looks at the indicator that has been partially achieved under program 4. So 2 out of the 3 planned support initiatives were concluded, and this then translates to 67% achievement. So there have been some delays in the supply chain processes that prevented the completion of the final initiative. And the mitigation that the team is involved with is with regards to amending the specifications to ensure that they are better able to be responsive from the service providers. This initiative is already planned for completion in the current quarter, in the 4th quarter. Chair, members, the quarter 3, just in closing, the quarter 3 performance, as you can see, it reflects continued delivery service within the Department of Provincial Treasury with 92% achievement rate and very limited areas requiring intervention and getting the attention that it deserves. We will always remain committed to improving our internal efficiencies and strengthening the support that we give to the departments and the municipalities so that we can ensure that there is ongoing compliance within the legislative frameworks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if you want the board to present their presentation first or if you want us to deal with questions on this item first. Thank you.
Yes, Minister, I think let's deal with the board as well, and then we can take questions on both of them thereafter.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask the team just to put up the next one.
So should we come in?
Afternoon, Chair, members. Chair, I think I just need guidance. I see that Provincial Treasury.
Sorry, Chair, it's very echoey. Can't, I don't know if maybe the person can move close to the mic.
Yes, it does seem as if we're a little bit, yeah, there is an element of echo there. I think if the speaker can perhaps move closer to the microphone.
Chair, can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but you still seem to be at a little bit of a distance.
I hope it's better now, Chair. We're just trying to, because we're all here in the boardroom, so that may...
Okay, let's, I think, go ahead and we'll let you know if there's a problem.
Chair, I just need some guidance. I think Provincial Treasury only presented the non-financial information, whereas we presented financial and non-financial information. Do you only want us to focus on the non-financial information for this session?
No, certainly both of them, please.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So we have provided the information to the committee. If we then start with our financial performance, next slide. So Chair, for Q3 year-to-date budget, we had a 79.5 budget, of which we spent 58.8 million, apologies, with an underspending of 20 million. And this has been provided as we would disclose it in the financial statements. So for example, for your cost of employment, we have an underspending of 5.7 million. Goods and services 4.1 million, and payments for capital assets of 10 million. And I will go through those variances briefly. So the next slide just present the same information in terms of the programs. So you will see, for example, program 1 under board and administration, there was an underspending of 17.7 million, but included in that amount was a 9.8 million, which was provided for the building. I think I have indicated in the slide or in the presentation that we had our bid specification committee in December. We have advertised for the bid in January. It has since closed. So the board is now in the evaluation process, but it is unlikely that the board would utilize the 9.8 million for the year under review. Licensing overspent by 293,000, and that is mostly in terms of employee-related cost. For example, where staff with accumulated leave and they discounted that leave. Compliance had an underspending of 3 million. That is based on vacancies within the board. To date, Chair, we had about our funded positions are 80. We have since appointed 76 staff members. So currently the board has 4 vacant positions, but I think the slow spending or the underspending is also based on when those appointments were made. For example, our responsible gambling manager was appointed on the 1st of November. So for a few months during the financial year, that post was vacant. And then we had an underspending of 61,000 for ICT, which is in line with the budget. Chair, I'm not going to go through in detail. I think I have spoken to these, the reason for the variances. I think the biggest variance is obviously the 9.8 million, which relates to the building and recruitment costs, for example. If I can just highlight that, we, based on our organizational structure review, we have anticipated appointing additional staff, but that did not realize, and therefore there's an underspending in terms of that line item. If I maybe can just speak to the responsible gambling initiatives. As indicated, the responsible gambling manager was only appointed on the 1st of November. And with that, with us now having that source, we will be able to spend the money, and we are currently busy with a responsible gambling initiatives in Q4. Next slide. Chair, I've spoken about the reason for the differences for these programs. So if I maybe can just look at the regulatory compliance one, because there was a 5 million underspending. As indicated, there were 4 vacancies, but we have appointed 2 chief gaming auditors on the 1st of February. And as I've indicated, the underspending is based on the fact that they were so late appointed during the year. Then if we go to non-financial performance information, Chair, for Q3, we had 14 performance targets, of which 13 were achieved. We have provided the detail to the committee. I think the one, you can continue. So there is more detail, Chair, in terms of the programs. The only program that did not achieve all of its targets was program 2. And I think the target was You maybe can just go there, listen at this. The target was 99, of which the program achieved 98 of the renewal applications, Chair. And that is our presentation, and we will take questions from the committee if there are any. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. I see Nadia Ismail's hand.
Through you, Chairperson, I just want to express our apology. So the Provincial Treasury presented only on the non-financial information, because our understanding, or at least our interpretation of the committee's request, was that we were to brief the committee specifically on the quarter performance report, which in terms of the National Treasury regulation is a non-financial performance report. This is also consistent with how we have previously presented to the committee. Having said that, we do have the financial information on hand, and we are able to provide the committee with the report should it be required. Apologies again. Thank you.
Yes, I must say my interpretation of when we're talking about performance, we are certainly talking about financial performance, inclusive of non-financial. So I think we obviously need to be a lot more clearer then if that is not precisely understood. But if you have the financial information with you right now, and you can present it, I think that would be appreciated.
Allow me to just check with my CFO. CFO,
Yes.
are you available?
Yeah, thank you, Nadia. It is available. I've got a presentation that was made to the GMC, our management meeting. So I'm just going to quickly find the presentation, and then I will share the presentation, and then I'll just go through the summary page. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, members can just give me indication if you can see the presentation.
Yes, certainly we can see that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to go to the correct pages. Okay, so that's the IYM. So the summary of the IYM is at 31st of December. So our adjusted estimate was 334 million, and we have spent to date 38 million. So our variance at that stage was 7 million, and the percentage expenditure is 71.33%. So then just a summary per program. As you can see that program 1 spent 66.7%. So the projected variance at that stage was 4.8%. Our sustainable resource management expenditure was 75.3%, 1.4 variance, and asset management 69.1%, 1.8% variance, and our financial governance 67.1 with a 1.9 million. You will see that with regards to the economic classification, COE we spent 72.4%. I think it's quite highlighted there in red also for our management team to take note of, was 4.2 million, and you will see that's about 2% variance. That is mainly for as a result of delays in the filling of vacancies, resignations, promotions. So that is the 4.2 million. On goods and services, It is, and you will see that relates to also program 1 is goods and services. That is, we're just waiting for projections, revised projections, depending on the progress with regards to the procurement processes. And then transfers and subsidies, that is for the external bursary program, also waiting for the projections to be more accurate, depending on the number of actual claims that we will receive for our external bursaries. You will see capital assets is quite small, and we have spent 39.1%, but we have already placed an order for the refresh of all the new laptops, and we will definitely get that the invoices and do the payments before the end of the financial year. And then thefts and losses, obviously the variance was 168 because we don't project for that. So that is just in short the summary of the expenditure for the department until the end of December. Yeah, so we are hopefully the variance is about 2.1%. We are really trying to ensure that we fast track all expenditure to be able to meet the budget. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm now going to hand over to committee for any questions. Perhaps we can deal with Provincial Treasury first of all, before we move across to the board. I can see member Nkondlo. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just check with the department what would be driving at this third quarter of the financial year capital asset spending only at 39%? I hear that the order is awaited of laptops and stuff. Why would these things only be ordered only at this point, keeping the expenditure below even 40% at this point? And maybe you can then indicate to us when you spoke about the goods and services of procurement that is still being awaited. What exactly do you mean by that? I'm interested just to get the detail. I didn't get exactly what that means in terms of procurement that is still to sort of happen. And then with the 4.2 million of COE, are these vacancies that are already advertised that are about by the end of the financial year to have been concluded? Maybe just clarify that 4.2 that we had redlined in the COE. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Member Nkondlo. Member Brinkhuis, I see your hand.
Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you very much to the department and to the board also with that presentation. Chair, I would just like to touch on the one aspect from the department, that is the external bursaries. If I could get a breakdown of those bursaries that was done through this financial year, in terms of how many bursaries and who did the bursaries go to, and also the value in total of all the bursaries, the external bursaries that was dispersed. If I can just get that indication. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Brinkhuis. I am not seeing other hands at this stage. I think I'll hand over to to department, to Provincial Treasury, to Minister or to one of the officials to be able to deal with those questions?
Chair, I'm going to ask that the department just gives you the respective information. I do know at the last count that we were able to bring our vacancy percentage down from, if I remember correctly, and Ms. Ishmael can assist me with this, it was at 28% previously, and we've been able to bring it down to 20%. We've also had quite a few promotions within the department as well, where the one position gets filled, but now the other one is open. But I'll ask the team to go through the differences. But we obviously is continuing in terms of expediting the filling of vacancies because we want to bring it down even more. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, there's Nadia. Okay, Nadia, go.
Thank you, Minister, and through you, Chairperson. So we are pursuing a very active process for the filling of the vacancies, and we have a very focused recruitment approach. But simultaneously, we do also experience some turnover pressure. So what we are seeing is that even though we are onboarding new staff, we are also losing employees at the same time. But the Minister is 100% correct. We have seen a huge improvement in the vacancy rate, with that being improved, and we're working to take that to the next level in the future. We are familiar with the
Chairperson.
Member Nkondlo.
Can I please request Ms. Ismail to just pick up the voice a little bit and speak closer to the mic? I'm grappling to hear her.
Yes, okay. Thanks for that. Okay, Ms. Ismail, if you could just speak up a little bit there, thanks.
Certainly. So just to repeat myself, to the member in Nkondlo, so there is a very active recruitment and selection process that we are pursuing very fervently. But as you know, as soon as we onboard staff members, we also lose staff members. And this is something that we are working to mitigate. Within the department, there's thus it creates a stop-start dynamic within the environment, opening up the vacancies, but it's not left to be delayed. The committee is familiar with the fact that we are prioritizing our critical posts. So we are fast-tracking the HR processes as far as possible and working with the CEC. We are also using internal development pathways, including the bursaries that we will provide Member Brinkhuis with a list of in terms of what he requested. And all of these together strengthen the retention, hopefully, over the medium term. But yes, the reality is that we have improved on the vacancy rates, and we will continue to work on it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you there. I see HOD.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon to the members. So I just want to latch on to the response by Nadia in terms of the bursaries. So the question was from Member Brinkhuis, the external bursaries. So we have 51 active bursaries for the 2026 year, and they are all in the process with the registration. And we are busy with the tuition payments within with the start of the academic year, just to give the committee a sense of the number of external bursaries that we are supporting, and the areas that we support these the bursaries or the successful applicants in would be areas that would support the provincial treasury in the execution of our duties. So typically it would be economics, accounting. It could be even to the extent that we're dealing with supply chain, also infrastructure to a certain extent. So it will normally in the norm be what we have to respond to in terms of our own capability within the provincial treasury. But external total is 51. Thank you, Chair.
And Chair,
Thank
I
you.
think Ms. Smith must also just come in regarding the financial questions, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Chair and members. Through you, Chair. The question, and I'm firstly going to respond to the question on the capital assets and the procurement of the laptops that I spoke about. Obviously, we place the order, and that is specifically also for new staff members. So obviously, because we are appointing the staff members in the latter part of the financial year, that is why we place the order, because we also don't want the laptops to be in the storeroom and the staff members are not appointed yet. So that is why we only place the order later in the financial year, and then the payment will definitely go through before the end of the financial year. So that is on our laptops, and why we procure only a little bit later and not before the time when the beginning of the financial year. And it also depends on when we need to refresh our laptops, because there's a different time frames for when we bought the laptops. We have a 5-year lifespan for a laptop, and then we replace the laptops. So we monitor that, and then we only place the order when we need to refresh. With regards to the goods and services and the procurement thereof, as I've indicated, that we are waiting for the projections, and then also because that's linked to the where in the procurement process we are. So there's a number of procurement that at the end of the Q3 we were still in process. For example, some of the support that for Kanaland on budget enhancements, payroll audit. We've also done the expenditure reviews, as well as then support on the internal audit at municipalities, as well as IT audit and training and development. So those were just a few of the items that were still in procurement process, that we obviously, depending on where we are and when the services will be rendered, we need to just then amend the projections on those items. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much there. I'm just looking to see whether committee members have any further questions here. I see Member Nkondlo, and I think, yes, after Member Nkondlo, then we can deal with the Gambling and Racing Board questions. Member Nkondlo.
Thank you, Chair. If it is possible for the department to provide us the information regarding the capital assets, how many are these laptops that are still to be purchased with this remaining budget, and to which posts are these allocated to? As it is said that the reason for the delay is because they will be allocated to new staff that is starting. So if we can get that information, one would appreciate that. The second one, Chair, I think one is actually happy that the issue of the quality of indicators is a matter that I think through the SCM performance in this quarter have came back to the department regarding the actual indicator, where you would say the submission of the financial statements versus the tabling. So I think that for me is actually proper, because this issue that we've been raising repeatedly in these conversations, even in SCOPA, that it is actually does not make sense for the department, when it's not performing, it then comes and say, no, these are things that are beyond one's control, because a indicator should be on things that the department delivers on and is able to control. So I think one is at least happy on that specific indicator, because it would indeed make sense if you say, then the problem is that speaker, it will then be showing in the WCPP annual reports performance, if indeed they didn't table the statements to the House on time. It's safe to say that I am sure the minister is once again seeing the challenge of filling of vacancies timeously and the relationship to targets achieved. As in this SCM, it is said, part of not achieving also include the fact that the SCM currently is not having its full complement. And this is a very important function of any department or unit, because this is where, you know, the procurement needs to take place with everybody in that supply chain being able to do their jobs and ensure that the process is workable. And I would like, Chair, on that note, to request that the department provides us that from the last financial year to this financial year, which vacancies have been opened, those that have been filled, and those that are still, by the end of this financial year, are still not going to be filled, and reasons thereof. So if they can provide us that information, it helps us to track this issue of vacancies that are not filled, so that we are not surprised once again when we get to the annual report period regarding filling of vacancies. And I'm hoping with this rigor that Ms. Ismail spoke of, you know, around the SCM, by the end of this financial year, we should be getting the SCM vacancies filled, because these are very important in the delivery of those indicators that the Department of Treasury has placed for itself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Mkondlo. I don't know if the department would like to comment on that, but I guess what some of your indication in your question, Member Mkondlo, possibly that could be dealt with in some form of a written response then to the committee. I see Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. We do have the answer for the member, and we also appreciate what Member Nkondlo says regarding the targets. The particular one she was referring to on the financial statements were the annual consolidated financial statements. So as members would know, what the AG does is it first audits all the departments' financial statements, and then after that you audit the Provincial Revenue Fund. You can't audit the Provincial Revenue Fund until every other department is concluded. So any delay in an audit also affects when the audit on the Provincial Revenue Fund gets completed. And obviously, because the Provincial Revenue Fund was obviously then completed late, you can't submit the consolidated financial statements to the Speaker on time because the audit is not concluded. But we thank her for those comments, and we are looking at seeing how we can make sure that our indicators don't heavily rely on external stakeholders or external actions, and we hope to be able to improve on that going forward. But for example, the annual financial statements were eventually submitted, so it's not that those were not submitted specifically. Then on the financial vacancies, the COE vacancies, we can definitely submit that, Chair. But may I ask if we could submit what we have to date, because the financial year is not ended yet, it only ends end of March. But perhaps if the member and the committee is satisfied, we can submit what we have to date and then supplement it after the financial year. But it's definitely information we can submit. I know even in SCM, we have frequent new appointments that have also been coming through. So as much as we need to continue expediting that work, I'm happy to see that progress in the statistics of the team. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks. Thank you, Minister. I think we can do that as of the present, as of probably the end of the third quarter, and then one can then state the current position from there, and we can follow through from that. Okay, I'm just looking to see, I don't see any other hands on Provincial Treasury side. Anna Marie Smith, your hand is up.
Yeah, thanks, Chairperson. Maybe just to indicate to the member, it is 36 laptops, but we will present the list for the new appointees to the committee. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that. We can then move over to the Gambling and Racing Board, and any questions that members may well have there. I think the one aspect that we can perhaps get some elaboration on, I think, is the building, and getting that premises dealt with, because I think it has certainly been on the work in progress list for some considerable time now already. So I'm just looking for any further questions there from members. Okay, I think you can perhaps just go ahead and deal with the building in the meantime, while we just wait for any other possible questions that there may be.
Thank you, Chair. So in terms of the building, we had our bid specifications committee meeting for the tender in December 2025, and the office has advertised the open bid on the 12th of January. The closing date of the tender was the 2nd of February, and the board is now in the process of evaluating the bid. Chair, I think the reason as to why it has taken quite some time is because we don't have the expertise in the entity to execute a capital project of this nature. So we had to appoint a consultant to help the board to get the specifications right, to get the layout right. And now we are at the point we are able to appoint the building contractor, and hopefully we can start construction in April 2026. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Member Nkondlo.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to maybe for the board to just explain to us what would have contributed to the slight slight overspending on the licensing program, if I didn't get that when they were presenting. Secondly, I just wanted to check that with the amendments and the process of the research that they were busy with in as far as the legislation is concerned, has that process been concluded, or I know that there was the whole process of doing an overall study. It's not part of this. I didn't pick it up, to do that particular study towards looking at new amendments into the gambling legislation. So I just want to get some idea or update or information around that from the colleagues. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you there. I think if I'm just looking to see if there are any other questions at this stage. I'm not seeing hands, but I think you can go ahead then, Minister.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to respond to the legislation part, as that does relate to also our work in the Provincial Treasury. So hopefully either today or tomorrow, I've had a conversation with the speaker, and I have indicated to him my intention to introduce a money bill in March, and that relates to gambling matters, and the committee will receive more information upon introduction. And that is the first out of the two pieces of work that we are aiming to be working on. This is the first part, the amendment bill, and the next part of the work is the complete look at all of the legislation together. So the one part will only deal with one technical matter, and the second piece of work, which we hope to conclude the green paper within the new financial year, is to deal with the overall reform. But the committee will see progress on the amendment bill in March. If you know, all things remaining equal and Speaker gives me permission to table the bill, that you will then see that before the committee. And then I'll just hand over back to the board for the operational questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. To Member Nkonto's question, Chair. So, staff members are allowed to accumulate 1/3 of their annual leave. So, at the end of the period, they would have accumulated leave balances. And what happened in this case was that staff members were allowed, or they bought their leave, I want to say. So that the discounted leave is not budgeted for, but we do keep our cash when we do our cash surpluses calculation at the end of the year. That the leave balances we provide for. So, for example, if I have 10 leave days and my provision is 50,000 rand, then when I do my calculation before returning the monies to the provincial fiscus, I will then keep back the 50,000 rand, because if I resign tomorrow from the board is liable to pay that 50,000 to me. So the overspending is a result of that, and also the payment of acting allowances, member, in that department. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. I see Member Brian Sand.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. Chair, it's really just in response to what the Minister just mentioned about that money bill that's going to be presented. And it's quite exciting. I'm just, from my side, as someone who hasn't worked on this before, I know in the NA, those bills, as far as I recall, come to the committee for input, workshopping, deliberation, that kind of thing as well. Is that the case with this bill, or is it more a case of just the updates that come to us in terms of the progress? I'm just trying to work out what our role will be going forward so we can anticipate that. Thanks.
Go ahead, Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll just quickly deal with those processes, and I'm sure that the procedural officer and legal at Provincial Parliament would also be able to assist. They're quite well versed in these type of matters as well. So with the money bill, what would happen is if the Speaker grants me permission to table the bill in March, then the bill will be tabled. It will be referred to the Finance Committee. No, wait, sorry, I just need to check if it's referred to the, I'll ask the team if it's referred to finance or budget, because it's a money bill, but it does relate to gambling specifically. And I'll just ask the team to just assist me in terms of which committee that particular bill will go to. But in terms of the rules of the Provincial Parliament, for example, the appropriation bill is also a money bill, and the Provincial Parliament then deals with the money bill within 5 consecutive work days. The bill was previously signed off by Cabinet. It then went out to public participation. The public participation process is now concluded, and now we are bringing the bill to Parliament, and then the committee will be able to receive briefings on the bill the same way you receive briefings on an appropriation bill, for example. It's ask questions. If there's public participation, stakeholders have the ability to submit input. Stakeholders have received an opportunity to submit input, but they'll get a second opportunity to submit input via the committee process. And then as a department and other stakeholders, we then give you responses to whatever that input may or may not be. The committee then deliberates on the different clauses and the bill. And it will be a short bill, even though it'll be highly technical, even though it'll be a short bill. And then depending on the committee recommendation, that report goes to the Provincial Parliament, to the House. And the House then votes on whether or not to adopt the bill. But the committee would know that this particular bill deals with the economic opportunity tax relating to relocation of casinos. And without attempting to butcher the finance English, it is essentially that you previously had advantages based on where you are at. And now if you want to move, you might possibly be getting a new advantage economically. So you need to be able to compensate between that previous advantage and the new advantage that may be accruing. And that is then translated into a financial amount in terms of taxation. But Chairperson, that is really me simplifying the matter quite extensively. There's obviously been a lot of research and legal advice and guidance that's gone into this process. So please simply take my explanation as a simplified version of what we'll be presenting. But what I can do is I can also ask, I just want to see if Victor or otherwise Malcolm. I know Victor is here, so I thought maybe he's with the budget team. But Victor and Malcolm are here, and Claire as well. They can also just come in and give some more information. But essentially, it will be the provincial parliament process in terms of the provincial parliament rules that we will be following for the respective introduction. I hope that assists. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think that certainly gives the committee a summary of what that process would be. I don't know if there's anything that any of the officials could add at this stage. Otherwise, we'll have a look and see if there are any other questions to be asked in relation to the board and the board's presentations. I'm seeing none at this stage. I think I'm sort of just looking at committee. Are we fine? Going once, going twice, going three times. So I think that then brings us to the conclusion of the presentations both by Provincial Treasury and the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board for the third quarter financial and non-financial reports. And I would like to thank you then for being with us and making the presentations and taking the various questions and comments from committee members. So I think with that, you are then excused so that you can get back to the other pressures of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Chair. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, once everyone has had an opportunity to leave, then we as the committee can continue with the rest of the business on our agenda. And I think we are probably around about there now. And I think procedural officer will also just give us some details on the number of minutes that we would need to deal with. There is also just the one aspect that we did add to the agenda initially was how to deal further with the deliberations that we had towards the end of 2025. I think that was around about November in relation to the National Gambling Amendment Bill. And I think committee members will recall that we had an extensive session of presentations that were made to the committee to bring us up to speed with the the National Gambling Amendment Bill. And what then came out of that was a question that, a letter that we then forwarded, that the Speaker then forwarded to the NCOP to obtain some form of understanding on the status of that bill and what the next moves would be. As of mid-January, we had received communication from the NCOP where they then indicated that they had not yet placed any further processes in relation to that bill on the agenda or on the diary, and that still appears to be the case. My inquiries this week at National Assembly level then came back with the report back that there was to be a meeting taking place later this week with the Minister of Trade and Industry, with Minister Park-Staal, to try and craft a way forward in dealing with that National Gambling Amendment Bill, which had gone to a mediation committee. And the report from the mediation committee has not yet been tabled in the National Assembly or then in effect been debated. And in addition, I think members would also have noticed a fair amount of publicity relating to remote gambling and certain legislation that has been contemplated in terms of the taxation of remote gambling, in other words, online gambling. So both those matters appear to be under discussion at ministerial level, and it would appear, therefore, at this stage that we should hold any decision in abeyance after the presentations that we received as to what our next step should be. So that at this stage is the advice that I've received as chair of this committee. I think if there are no questions relating to that or any comments on that, then we can perhaps just hand over to procedural officer to deal with the minutes of some of our last meetings and reports that we just need to approve. So over to you, Ms. Adams. Right, okay, I see the flighting then of minutes of proceedings being the Monday, the 8th of December, our committee meeting that we then held, and that would have dealt with the adjustment appropriation bill, and there were those aspects that we were asked to express our views on the vote, and the committee expressed the view that it supports the vote and that the African National Congress and Al Jamaa expressed their minority view to not support the vote. So that is those set of minutes over there. And if those minutes are acceptable, if we could then have a proposer and a seconder for them.
Chair, I propose that we adopt the minutes, sorry.
I second, Chair.
Thank you, Member Masipa and Member Bryant, for proposing and seconding those minutes. So I think that deals with that. And then Ms. Adams, do we have, I think we might have a quarterly report. Yes, that is coming up onto the screen, which is the October to December quarter relating to the meetings that we had and the activities that we had over that period of time. And I think if we just to touch on which meetings they were, that we had, I think the end of October, we had the gambling board, and in December we had Department of Trade and Industry. So that was the briefing. In fact, it was the 2nd of December. And then we dealt with the appropriation bill on the 8th of December. So those, well, that would be the matters that we dealt with there. And this report then covers that period of time. I think if we are looking for just a conclusion on that and the acceptance of this, if we could do that, and then after committee members can have the rest of the afternoon of proposers and seconders.
Thanks, Chair. I move that we adopt the report and you move some of your budget to my committee. Jokes aside, I move for the adoption of this report.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I second that, and I don't support Member Masipa's request for additional money if I don't get some as well.
Yes, I think Member Masipa is taking a chance. He realizes it's 2:00 in the afternoon, and probably a few of the committee members now need their afternoon siesta. But based on that, I think we've got that adopted, and I would like to thank the committee for their attendance today, and the meeting is accordingly adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks. Bye-bye.